That'll do it for me today. Coming up next, The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
The Braves roll into the 2025 season with a singular focus. Bring home the division title and remind the league what Atlanta is all about.
Swung on, driven to left center field and deep. That baby's out of here. Austin Riley. 3-0 to Olsen, and he powers one. Deep right center field to the wall. It's gonna fly. It's a home run. Back-to-back homers.
97.7 ESPN, The Zone. By now, you know about Eagle Masonry and Insulation, and maybe you know that Eagle also does landscaping and dirt work. But how about after paint work? Shower doors, shelving, and mirrors, all taken care of by Eagle, the same Eagle that takes care of all your masonry, insulation, and landscaping needs. Eagle brings the same level of expertise to all these disciplines, and they're ready to provide you with a free quote. The website is the same, insulatewitheagle.com, as is the phone number, 256-755-1556. Give them a call and see what Eagle can do for you. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
Tom Luganville here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
Rocket City, for air that's cool and clean, contact Sensa Green Heating, Cooling, and Insulation. Get HVAC smart with Professor Green and the expert team at sensagreen.com. Now offering up to $1,500 off any new Bryant system. Whatever it takes, Sensa Green has Huntsville covered. Remember, folks, with innovative, sensible green solutions, contact Sensa Green Heating, Cooling, and Insulation.
Would you call a plumber for a root canal? The same goes for selling your timberland or farm. Choose someone who understands your property and can help you on the front end so you can capitalize on the back end. I am Bo Butler with Southland Realty and Auction. As a guide, I have put many hunters in position to take a shot. It's time for you to take your shot. Let's talk about putting you in position to sell your property. Call me at 256-609-0512. Remember, Bo knows land.
Tom Abraham back from my friend Ross Roberts at Valley Equipment Rental. It's springtime, so let's get that garden tilled with a tiller from Valley Equipment. And while you're at it, snag a power washer for the house and the driveway. And if you're putting in a sprinkler system, they have the small trencher that you need. And you can even rent a Skag zero-turn mower and much more to get your property in shape. Valley Equipment, not just for the contractor, but the homeowner as well. 2 locations on the North and South Parkway. Valley Equipment Rental. Learn more at valleyequipmentrents.com.
Never miss 1 second of Charger baseball with the Charger Zone.
Wendell, Knowles, by Lindsay, 6, 4, 3, double play, and UAH is 1 out away.
Only on 97.7 ESPN.com and the 97.7 ESPN The Zone app.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone. This hour is brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford, Alabama's F-150 Superstore. Welcome to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, 256-576-4977.
That's how I roll. And I'm not going to drink and drive anymore.
That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Wes and Steve.
Oh, it's always fun to set up shop here at Baumhower's Victory Grille. We've got you for the next 2 hours. When we last left you last night, the Braves were on a 1-game winning streak. Now they're on a 2-game losing streak. So Braves lost today.
Well, that was the first time they'd won up there for Was it ever or forever?
Well, and I know they got swept out the year before up in Toronto.
I think that they said that was the first time they had won
a game in a while.
No, in Toronto. I mean, it was
Yeah. Anyway, Spencer Strider did look all right, but it was his first start, so glad to see 99 back on the hill for the Atlanta Braves. But all right, Tennessee fans, here we go. It was first reported earlier today by Colin Cowherd, our good friend of the program. I mean, he just can't love us any more than he already does.
Oh, Cowherd.
Cowherd.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Colin was the first to report that the deal is done. And now On3 is reporting it. ESPN was reporting it. Is Fox there yet? Yes, Fox is there as well, reporting that Nico Iamaleava has indeed committed to UCLA. And evidently he went into the portal earlier today with a notation. The notation was, do not contact me. On that on that notation.
Well, they all
do
that,
not
that
contact
when they know where they're
me.
going. So
do not contact me. I know exactly where I'm going.
Well, that didn't take long anyway.
No, it sure didn't.
Who did UCLA beat last year? I was surprised they won 5 games.
They did win 5 games, and I looked it up. Let's see here. At Hawaii, that was 16-13 win. At Rutgers, at Nebraska. They did beat Iowa, Scott Tyson.
Well, Nebraska's not a bad team.
No, they beat Iowa, and they also beat Fresno State. That was their wins last year of 5-7 in the first year of Big Ten play.
Well, they won't have to worry about paying Nico to go to the playoffs anyway. He won't get any extra football when he's there, I don't believe.
Here is what earlier today, Urban Meyer, another good friend of the program, although Urban's starting to make some sense here over the last year or so.
You know, he makes sense unless he's talking. Occasionally, he'll put on his Ohio State hat on.
Oh, yeah.
Or his Florida hat on. And then he's kind of he's more of a cheerleader.
Tough to listen to.
Yeah.
Urban from earlier today on the triple option.
Everywhere he's been there.
Yeah, oh yeah, you cannot deny that record. There is no question about that. Here's Urban Meyer.
A couple thoughts. One of the things we got to quit calling it NIL. It's not. It's pay for play. It's a salary. It's exactly what they're doing. It's NFL. It's professional sports right now.
It's worse than the NFL, Coach. It's worse than the NFL because in the NFL,
there's no salary cap. There's nothing to work against.
Well, it's
no
worse
buffers.
than the NFL because the NFL, you have to honor your contract. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm making $4 million. I balled last year. No, I need $12 million this year." No,
that's why you hold out. That's
and think about this: there's a rule out there that says that it cannot be tied to measurables. Your stats, winning, losing. What is it tied to? I'm blown away by this. And
right.
Yeah. It's tied to measurables.
And
I played
and
better.
I did see.
I
I read
more money.
And I read someone treat them like coaches. And if you really want to tie it in, I don't think you're allowed to do it now, but allow buyouts. So if someone wants to go get Nico, they got to go pay Tennessee $5 million.
They buy it out. Yes.
And they buy it out.
Or if they don't want you anymore, buy you out and let you hit the road, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Wow. This is this is again.
It should be like that though. You have a contract, you have to honor.
That's why you got GMs coming into college football now, right? Because that's what's happening. That's what North Carolina is set up for, right? We bring in a GM because this is what college football is. It's the NFL.
It's worse than the NFL, actually. Like right now, the college players have more power than the NFL player does.
That'll change.
Yes, you hold out in the NFL, you get fined per day. Per day.
Yeah, but how many of those dudes actually end up paying that fine? Like
all of them? Who is
because I don't know who the third wheel is right there on the Triple Option podcast, but Mark Ingram, I totally forgot about it. When Nico didn't show up for Friday, that is a major difference. I mean, in the NFL, bam, you get fined immediately.
But it's not like you do get fined, but it's not like, these guys don't show up for it's calculated. They're but this guy was one of the highest paid players in the country. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any. So I like what coach is saying here.
Urban Meyer.
Yeah, 100%. The other guy just he didn't know what he's talking about.
So the other soundbite I wanted to play for you comes from Kirk Herbstreit. This came from earlier today on the Pat McAfee show. How did we get in this mess? Here's Kirk Herbstreit.
Everybody's afraid of litigation. Everybody's afraid of the threat of litigation. Nobody says what they really think. Nobody's willing to be a leader. Nobody's leading this sport. That's where we are right now. You know, you have an SEC commissioner who's in charge of just the huh?
Why is no one willing to take that? Why don't we have somebody? We know how big college football is. Why is no one doing that?
Because of what I just said, everyone's afraid right now. This player movement. If you do anything that's perceived to not be willing to give what the players want, then you're a problem. You need to be removed. And so people are just kind of like leading like this. Like they're terrified to lead. They're terrified to make big decisions. And ultimately they're sitting back and not doing what to me they need to do, which is having some balls and making some decisions and taking the heat. And the problem right now is if you do that, you get an attorney who either threatens to sue you or sues you, and now you're in a tough spot because the players win all these arguments. The players win all these debates. I've seen ESPN analysts come out and they want to blame the NCAA. Like, when in doubt, just blame the NCAA. I mean, that's all you have to do. The NCAA is like the boogeyman. You just when in doubt. It's never a play. Has anybody ever come out and said a player's ever at fault ever?
Well, Nico, this one's been pretty loud on Nico, I think. And then during the college football playoff, I think there was some.
Well, I don't mean fans. I'm talking about people that follow the sport and care about the sport. Let me just say this about Nico.
Well, I want to pause it right there just because of the point that he's making.
Well, I disagree a little bit.
A lawsuit.
Yeah, well, that's real to a certain extent. I think it's more they don't want to be known by the players that they're not willing to pay them. But you're seeing that turn now. You have Kirby came out and said some stuff just recently.
Yeah,
Coach Saban was the leader. He's gone to the house because of this. Because I think he didn't want to fight it. Was half of it. One is he's old enough to retire and can get a good gig.
Yeah.
But you have Tennessee just stood up to Nico. I mean, it's starting to turn. It had to turn. But yeah, I think all the coaches really believe in their hearts that the players should be getting paid. But now it's gone to the ridiculous. Which we knew it would. I mean, this is what we
zero to crazy. And
yeah, well, it's been crazy for a minute, but
yeah,
it's finally found its turn, and hopefully other players will see. You know, I hope it gets well reported that Nico didn't make as much. I'm hoping anyway. I don't think he had any choice but to go to UCLA. I don't think that anybody else was willing to pay him. I know the story is that he was approached by. They approached Oregon, they approached some other places, and they said, no, thank you. I think the story that's really killing Nico, and it should, was how they called up last year's wanting money, which is now being reported that it really happened. That
what Jimmy was telling us about last night, that was the regular season rate, not a playoff rate.
Right, yeah, and that he deserved money for the playoffs. He said it was his best game. I didn't think he played that good, that great. They didn't block anybody either in that game, and it was a total ass whipping. But you know,
well, it was more or less put on Nico because I mean Dylan Sampson was hurt. So
right, well, and the tackles played horrible in that game. They could not block their defensive ends, but they got to where they had to throw the ball, and you know you got to get the ball out. And Nico held the ball too long a lot.
Coming up on the program today, Chris.
He's also a young player.
Yeah, yes, yes.
And a young player that I don't think had the intestinal drive because he thought he'd already made it. I mean, you know, you pay a guy $5 million before he's 20 or 21. That's just not.
Yeah. Coming up on the program today, Chris Doring is going to join us on loan from the SEC Network. That is going to happen in hour number 2. later on here in this first hour. Drew DeArmond's going to join us here at Baumhower's Victory Grill. And the head fry cook himself, Bob Baumhower, is going to join us as well later on here in hour number 1 as well. But honestly, this I've been real hesitant just to pile on the dad. I don't know for certain all of the facts of this story.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it is being assumed that this is being led by his dad.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. The kid's responsible for himself at this point, right? You got to make he has to own the decisions. Can't blame it on daddy. I mean, if daddy's running the show, daddy's running the show. But it's about you. So I mean, I don't think it matters who's at fault. It's him. It's they didn't pay his daddy $5 million to play quarterback. They paid him. So eventually, you have to stand up for yourself.
So Kirk was about to dive into Nico and spoke very positively and very glowingly of his interactions with Nico during their Zoom calls and prepping for games. But here is ultimately how the soundbite ends that I clipped out. This is from the Pat McAfee show from earlier today.
Him as a player. I'm just saying that when do you ever hear anybody be critical in this era of a player? Because they're afraid to be critical of a player because you get labeled as a guy that's against the players. You get labeled as a guy that's an old head. And I'm just saying that somebody's got to have the stones to step up. And I don't know who that is. I have no idea who it is, but I hope one day somebody decides to be a freaking leader and help us save this sport, because we're not saying take NIL away. We're not saying any of that. We're just saying, can we have some freaking rules? Not give the players all the cards. The players went from having no cards to every single card. And that's not right. This is not healthy.
Yeah,
Well, you got to do it with contracts, and you have to do it with. I agree with Coach talking about buyouts. I've actually mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
The school. I mean, heck, they paid Nico $3 million before he ever played it down.
How about that?
I mean, so somebody should have to pay some of that back. I mean, you did it to develop the quarterback, and then he reneged on the deal. So I think that there has to be some kind of and that'll keep the some kind of reparation for the kids that leave after a couple of years at a university and they've been paid by the university. Regular NIL, which is what it's supposed to be, you shouldn't have to pay back because it'd be Pepsi paying you.
Yeah.
Or Dr. Pepper, the universities wouldn't be paying you.
Yeah. That's
what NIL is supposed to be. But this is, Coach is right. It's pay for play. We say it all the time. But by doing that, that would help the smaller schools that are really struggling to hold on their players, like Louisiana Lafayette. You look at Alabama, one of their running backs is doing so good right now, came from Louisiana Lafayette. The Florida running backs from Louisiana Lafayette. Lacey, unfortunately, he just passed away.
Yeah.
Was at LSU. He was from Lafayette. The Ole Miss guy, number 9, that played for Alabama for a year, is going to be supposedly a first or second round pick. He played. So that's just one example of all these schools that are sending players everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
They should be reimbursed because they developed the guys for 2 or 3 years.
Let's go ahead and take our first time out. We're live here at Baumhower's Victory Grill. Drew DeArmond is in the on-deck circle. We'll talk with Drew as well. Bob Baumhower, Chris Doring. That's all coming up right here on The Drive, live from Baumhower's Victory Grill.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Ford Motor Company. From America, for America. Hi, folks. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford with a real quick quiz. Out of all the manufacturers, do you know which auto company employs the most hourly workers in America? Ford. Do you know which company assembles the most vehicles in this country? Ford. That's not just a coincidence. It's a commitment. A 120-year-old commitment to build in America for America. And during this unprecedented moment in automotive history, you stand to benefit big time. Woody Anderson Ford is now offering employee pricing. You pay what we pay. We've got over 190 F-150s for you to choose from with generous finance rates and the best deals of the year on America's best-selling truck for 48 years in a row. Employee pricing can save you thousands off MSRP, and with over 600 Fords for you to choose from, there's a good chance you'll find just exactly what you're looking for. This offer ends May 31st, so hurry in. Woody Anderson Ford.
The state's largest orthopedic group is growing to meet the needs of the patients in our community. The Orthopedic Center has long been the most trusted name in orthopedics in North Alabama. So as our area continues on the fast track, so does the need for premier orthopedic care anywhere and anytime you need it. TOC is proud to announce the opening of our new locations in Albertville and Hampton Cove, along with the grand opening of our newest office in Decatur. These clinics will offer the same high-quality orthopedic care you have come to associate with TOC, with the convenience of being closer to home. As a patient, your time is your most precious asset, and we recognize that at TOC. That's why we are also proud to announce the opening of our urgent ortho clinics to handle those bumps and bruises that need prompt attention. These clinics are available to care for acute orthopedic injuries with no appointment necessary. With 38 physicians, 20 centers of excellence, and now more than a dozen locations to serve you, TOC will continue to be the name you turn to for the best orthopedic care at the right time. Visit our website at visittoc.com for more information. TOC, helping you live a better life.
Our customers want best-in-class solutions. That's why we've recently added many new vendors like Zebra barcode printers. Our next level team has added premier automation solutions. We're not here to sell you just one product, and we love helping you find the right solution to your specific needs. That's what doing the right thing is all about, and that's why our customers have come back for over 50 years.
I'm here with Stan McDonald of Jacob Title. Stan, I've heard that every real estate closing at Jacob Title is a very big deal. Why is that?
Wes, I'm reminded of a very impactful statement that I heard from Coach Gene Stallings years ago when he talked about big games and little games. He said he didn't like that comparison. He says, because try losing one of those little games. And if you ever do, it ends up being the biggest game all year long. Well, it's the same thing with real estate closings. Every game, every closing is a very big deal at Jacob Title. Because when it's your closing and your contract on the line, it's a very big deal, and we understand that at Jacob Title.
So it sounds like whether your client is a first-time residential buyer or a multi-million-dollar investor, they can expect your A game.
That's exactly right. As a matter of fact, when you bring your real estate closing to us at Jacob Title, we understand it's all about trust and confidence. And when Stan McDonald tells you that a chicken dips snuff, you can look under his wing for the box.
And like Beebs likes to say, there's no doubt about it.
This segment of The Drive is brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford, located online at woodyAndersonFord.com with 2 locations, Hughes Road in Madison and Jordan Lane in Huntsville.
Back here at Baumhower's Victory Grill. Got a full show, a full 2 hours for you here. And swinging on by is Drew DeArmond. You can check out Drew weekday mornings right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Our weekly conversations presented by Environmental Comfort Systems. You can check them out online at envcomfort.com. How are you, Drew DeArmond?
I'm doing well. You won't hear Jeff anymore, but that's all right.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
What I miss?
He gone. We banned him this morning.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Yep. You know, he had a few good calls lately, but came in today insulting Scott, insulting me, and talking about our money and how we're broke, and he makes more money than we do. And so I booted him off the show. He's done.
Who's this?
Jeff.
Jeff from the Dumbo. So he done. I mean, then I found out he insulted Joe Hunk about his wife and his wife, and so I was like, "No, you're finished. We're not having this." I mean, when you have no life and you just call every radio show and you want to try to insult people, it's just not the right way to do things. We want to have good conversation, and I know he calls y'all's show sometimes, but he
occasionally
all he ever does is try to pick a fight. And most of the time, we actually had some good calls with him the last couple weeks, and it was good stuff. But I mean, I'm just, we're not trying to create negativity like some of these other shows that do that. And we don't need parody callers and everything like that and all that. It's just not what we're going to do on Talking Ball. And we're talking ball. We're not, insulting people and yelling at people and everything like that. And so I just told him he was done. And so I told him when he calls back in, we're just going to hang up. So we got better things to do than argue with him.
Well, how about Nico landing at UCLA?
Well, I mean, I heard Colin Cowrong said that. We'll see if he well,
it's now being reported by multiple sites now, ESPN, Fox, On 3.
So it's not No 3 because No 3 had him going to North Carolina. Just make sure of that. It's the Jimmy Himes effect. I know y'all talked to Jimmy.
Sure does.
He still is well connected, and he has 20 fake
But he's
accounts.
retired.
Right.
But he's retired.
I'm just saying, watch the fake accounts, people. The Richard G. West, this other fool out of New York who is an Auburn grad, supposedly, who keeps saying Nate Oates to Maryland, Nate Oates to the Denver Nuggets. And I kept trying, people were sending it to me, and I kept saying,
John Emery has just entered the portal.
Yeah, I mean,
the LSU tailback.
Is he 30? That's what I would ask.
He has been on the LSU roster since 2019.
Right.
So you do have a point there.
Right.
So,
he was on the national championship team. Think about that.
How long that's been.
When Hummer was coaching. I mean,
this is vintage Shruti Arman right here. Ladies and gentlemen.
And again, I feel bad for John Emery. He's had a lot of injuries.
Yes, he has.
Just because he looked really good at the beginning of last year, if y'all remember in that first game.
Yeah.
And and he was running the football good. He was running it hard, and I thought he looked like he had his burst back, and then he's been on
the team so long. He's been on the team when they actually won their first game.
Right. I can't wait till we catch up with Moscona about that, because I know he and T-Ball they've got PTSD
with
from
game
the first
one.
game.
Yeah.
And this one's Clemson, I think.
Yeah.
Coming up.
Yeah.
So, I think T-Ball was just wanting to take an L and just move on to the next one. But wow. But Nico, I mean, look, to me, I said this on Talking Ball. The whole thing started because they didn't like the offense. And I know they were asking for raises in the playoffs and all this, but I don't think after he redshirted, they liked the direction of the offense. They wanted him to change it. And you can make an argument. This is the only time that I'll stick up for Nico, that when you look at, even though he's had Hendon Hooker and then and Joe Milton, and I love Hooker, by the way. I think he's the second best quarterback since Peyton Manning, as far as in that era. If you go from Peyton Manning forward, I think he's even better than T. Martin. But you can make the argument. You look at the Jalen Hyatt, the Cedric Tillmans. Are any of them stars in the NFL? No. But here's the thing that you have to go back and say, though. They took the $2 million or the 4-year, $8 million deal and the $2 million or whatever he got in high school. When they started paying him in high school in California. They took all that knowing they saw the offense. Okay. They made the decisions to sign. Maybe they thought there were some promises made. They were going to tweak some things or whatnot. But I still think after he redshirted and then he was the starter last year, they didn't like the offense. I mean, I'm talking about by mid-season. So that's why all this turmoil, because I heard early on that Nico and Heupel were not meshing and that they weren't on the same page. And so I think they wanted to go back home by the middle of his redshirt freshman season. And I think they were already planning that. That's another reason why they asked for, more money for the playoffs and things of that nature. Now, if Tennessee had kept paying, that's great. We're going to continue to make money. But I do think they also were trying to see how far Tennessee would go. And I just think they honestly thought that Nico, having the year that he had, getting to the playoff, they overestimated. I think they thought they could go behind closed doors and backdoor it and then get him to a West Coast school, because there's no Pac-12 anymore. We get to a West Coast school and get out of there. Maybe even before spring practice, even in December. I think they really wanted to get out of there in December.
But he was in the playoff.
Right. But they still could have got out of there, though. Remember, they opened the portal for those teams after you lose. So I think they really thought they could get out of there. Then they could go back and say, we want $4 million. They won't give us $4 million. Well, guess what? Somebody's going to give us as much as Tennessee did, and we're going to get out of here. But I don't think they could get anybody to commit to them. And I think they overestimated it. They kept pushing it. And then, and now they are where they are. And UCLA, when you looked at the landscape, I know USC was mentioned. I heard Ohio State mentioned, but Ohio State's got Julian Sand, and they spent a lot of money to get him away from Alabama. That didn't make sense to me. I just felt like USC, Lincoln Riley's already on the hot seat, so he don't need some overrated dude coming in there that's not a sure thing, that could get him in trouble. UCLA has everything to gain and nothing to lose, so to speak. They already are in a tough spot.
Yeah.
Okay. But, and right now there's negativity around Nico, but he is a Southern California kid. What if you can take him to the next level? Now, they've already gotten rid of Eric Bieniemy. He's gone back to the NFL.
That's right.
I don't really know. And Deshaun Foster's the coach.
That's right.
He had one of the worst press conferences I've ever heard at a media days at the Big Ten. I mean, he didn't even sound like a head coach, but it was his first year. So do they have a direction now? What are they going to do? But
Tino Sinceri is the offensive coordinator.
And they brought him in, and Tino is energetic. He is a quarterback guy. He is a great recruiter. We all know who his dad is. We all know he was at Alabama at one time, and I think had a really good working relationship with the Mac Joneses and the Tua Tagovailoas and the people like that, and Bryce Young. So it's probably a good gamble there. And again, he's going to be back home if this is all true. Like, we'll see. Probably is. I mean, so we'll see. But I mean, I think, UCLA, when they started mentioning all the schools, if you could work out a deal and if they can find some money now, and again, but UCLA here's the other gamble you're taking if you're the Iamaliavas. How good is UCLA going to be? How committed are they to football? Because they never really have been. They never really went all in on it. And I think that's why Chip Kelly left. Because don't forget, guys, he could have gone to Florida. Talking about Chip Kelly, he got it down to UCLA and Florida, and I was a little surprised when he chose UCLA. But he is a West Coast guy.
I may need to back this up. Chris Lowe has just put out the following. The wait for former Tennessee quarterback Nico Iamaleava plays in his next collegiate career, continuing today as he entered the transfer portal, has not committed anywhere. UCLA is among the schools interested in Nico, but not for nearly the money that he was asking from Tennessee. This is from Chris Lowe just about 20 minutes ago.
And we talked to Chris Lowe, on Tuesday. He had come up to support Jason Swain, and Joey Kent did as well when Swain went into the Huntsville-Madison County Athletic Hall of Fame. And he kind of went into some of those details a little bit about Nico Iamaleava. And that's why I would pump the brakes. And when everybody was saying it was done, I said maybe, because a guy like Chris Lowe is as plugged in as anybody. And all I would do is probably call UCLA the favorite, but I would also agree with Chris. They're not going to get even what they were getting at Tennessee.
He was earning $2.4 million at Tennessee.
That's right.
That was a contract signed with the University of Tennessee that expired after this year with Spire Sports Group.
Yeah. And I think they probably renewed it every year.
That's the Tennessee Collective.
Yeah. And they renewed it every year because it was supposed to be a 4-year deal. And he would have continued to at least make that money going forward.
It's a deal that would have paid him a little over $10 million had he stayed for the life of the deal.
Just people around him. And again,
he's already earned $5.2 million.
Like Chris Lowe said on our show, Nico's a good kid. He's a quiet kid, but it's the people around him that have just run this off the railroad tracks. And they've given him bad advice. They haven't done the right things. And now, you had $4.8 million or so probably still there. And what does that add up to, Steve? 2.4 a year, right? So it would have renewed every year. And now you'll be lucky maybe to make $1 million at UCLA. And we had people tell us on the show this week, including Jason Swain, them taxes is different in California. Like Wes would know that.
A lot different.
Yeah. So if you're making $2.4 million,
You
in
pay
Tennessee,
as much
it's better.
to the city as you do the state.
There you go.
Alabama.
There you go. And so in the South, he's going to be that $2.4 million goes a lot further than what's going to happen now, and he's not guaranteed to be a top 10 pick. Okay, especially now at Tennessee, that program was going in the right direction. They were in the playoff. Josh Heupel's had it going good. At UCLA, it's, I guess, in flux is the best way to put it. I mean, Deshaun Falk, we don't know if he's a long-term head coach. I mean, at least Chip Kelly had developed, offenses at Oregon and quarterbacks that, had done exceptionally well, reached the national championship game, so who knows? I mean, you just really don't know going forward the long-term future. It's very uncertain for Nico Iamaleava after he followed the advice and the stewardship of his inner circle, which I think is not done a good job with the kid.
Well, they're not teaching them much of anything about life.
No,
I
not
will
at
say
all.
that.
No, not at all.
So here we are, and
well, it's just like people were even thinking about, what Ty Simpson would do if because there was thought to be some consternation that Alabama didn't announce a starting quarterback at the end of spring football, which nobody expected.
No, that's not what I read.
But Ryan Grubb did say if we had a game today tomorrow, he would be the starter, which is what you expect. But I mean, Ty has spent so much time like at Alabama, could have left 2 years ago. He could have easily been long gone. And he's had interest every offseason, but he didn't leave. And you put so much time in, and it's about, your teammates' respect, grinding. And then we all know with these contracts, these NIL contracts, they're year to year pretty much.
Yeah.
Even though Nico had a 4-year, 10 million, whatever, it's still a thing where, they're year to year. So
only reason they're year to year is because of there's no rules.
Yeah, there's no rules. There's no antitrust exemption. There's nothing. So
but I believe that if they wanted to hold their feet to the fire, that they really could.
Yeah.
And I know that when some people leave, they've tried to claw back some money.
Yeah.
They hadn't been very aggressive with it, but I know they have tried to. Yes.
And so if Ty Simpson becomes the starter as we all anticipate, I would imagine we've all heard what Bryce made, allegedly what Jalen Milroe made. That's what Ty's going to make. I mean, so that, but you also want to put yourself in position to go to the NFL. And Alabama has built this offense or is building it around Ty Simpson and these quarterbacks. They've got good weapons. They've got good players. And so and that's where Nico Iamaleava is kind of going in blind. Like you haven't practiced with UCLA. You don't even know what they have. You're going to probably have to take less money now. At least you would have had an idea what Tennessee had. I know they were trying to.
Nobody could tell me one iota that they were holding out to get more money from Tennessee, and it's blew up in their face.
Yeah, they were trying to, and I think they were trying to influence who they recruited and what they brought in, and they just approached it completely. Everything they did was
stupid.
And it's gonna be a 30 for 30 one day, guys. It's gonna be called Cautionary Tale. And I compared him to Lenny Cook this morning. And Steve, you're a basketball guy. I just wish I've listened to some of y'all's interviews with him. You need to get Sonny Vaccaro back on and just say, Lenny Cook, go, and see what he says.
I'd be good with that.
I don't know who Lenny Cook is.
Well, you don't anymore. Well, at one time, he was as big as LeBron James in high school on the East Coast. He was supposed to be – he and LeBron were 1 and 2. They were supposed to be redefining college basketball or going to the NBA. And it turned into, because of the people around Lenny, it turned into a disaster. And that's all I can say. And so
it's a really good, it's a really good point to bring up right there.
Now, at least Nico has had some success in college, and he was decent to pretty good last year, but he's still got a long way to go.
He made $500,000 a victory.
Pretty much, or how much for touchdown pass against power forwards.
Yeah, so
not Chattanooga. No offense against Chattanooga in football.
Bob Baumhower is set to join us on the other side of our final timeout as we're live here from Baumhower's Victory Grill. The head fry cook himself is slated to join us next right here on The Drive.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Tom Luganville here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Would you call a plumber for a root canal? The same goes for selling your timberland or farm. Choose someone who understands your property and can help you on the front end so you can capitalize on the back end. I am Bo Butler with Southland Realty and Auction. As a guide, I have put many hunters in position to take a shot. It's time for you to take your shot. Let's talk about putting you in position to sell your property. Call me at 256-609-0512. Remember, Bo knows land.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Eagle Masonry and Installation. It's right there in the name. Eagle is your one-stop shop for block, stone, or brickwork, monument signs, and outdoor kitchens and fireplaces. Eagle also offers the finest craftsmanship and insulation, including fiberglass or spray foam insulation, and of course, insulation removal. Philip Love and his team have years of experience, bringing the region the best in masonry and insulation services. For more information and a quote, visit insulatewitheagle.com or call 256-755-1556. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
There's power in caring when it is put into action. Each year, our bankers serve on nonprofit boards, support our local educators, and volunteer with our hometown food bank. I'm Bobby Humphrey, Vice President of Business Development for Bryan Bank, and community service is just not a line item in our mission statement. It's who we are. Because after all, Alabama is our home too. That kind of commitment to community might not be what you would expect from a bank, but it's exactly what you can expect from us. Give us a call or stop by one of our 2 offices in the Huntsville area and experience unbeatable service and legendary results.
Bryan Bank Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 2428943, member FDIC.
Hey there, everybody. Bob Baumhower here, letting you know that we understand that times are tough and we truly believe value matters. So, by popular demand, we brought back our Inflation Bites menu featuring scratch-made meals that will make the whole family smile and your wallet too. Menu items start at just $7.99 and any entree comes with a free beverage. Try our classic tailgate burger for just $8.99 or our hearty Bam Bam chicken platter for $9.99. Baumhower's Victory Grill. Legendary fun, legendary food.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly sunny sky this afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 60s. A couple of folks looking at the lower 70s, dropping into the mid and upper 40s as we head into the overnight, early into your Thursday morning. A mostly to partly sunny sky Thursday afternoon. Temperatures continuing to climb across the Tennessee Valley. Highs have no problems, climbing into the mid 70s. Some of us could be looking at the upper 70s. Only dropping into the mid 50s as we head into the overnight. A mostly to partly sunny sky for your Friday. Temperatures consistently climbing into the upper 70s and lower 80s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Thank you for making us your number one choice for sports talk in North Alabama.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Tried to amend my carnivorous habits. Made an nearly 78. Losing weight well outspeed eating sunflower seeds. Drinking lots of carrot juice and soaking over raised bitter.
So the idea is for me want to talk over songs when we come back, Brian.
I was
You keep
playing this for
playing-
Mr. Baumhower.
Yeah, you keep playing Buffett songs. I'm not going to interrupt Jimmy Buffett. Back here at Baumhower's Victory Grill.
The closest thing we have to paradise here in Huntsville.
There you go. There you go. Come on by here. We're here till 7 o'clock as we are at Baumhower's Victory Grill waiting on the head fry cook himself
Bahama
right
Bob.
now. That's right. Waiting on Bob at the moment, but we'll talk to Bob here momentarily and get his 2 cents on what is going on. Because, I mean, that this is – I know Bob has Baumhower's franchise has partnered with Alabama football for a number of years for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I think they did an NIL with
Ryan Howard. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, Ryan Howard.
Ryan Williams. Yeah.
They should do one with the neighbors somewhere, shouldn't they?
Well, yeah, he's been supporting me all of my life.
So in turn, this is our NIL deal with Baumhower's Victory Grill, and the food here is always spectacular.
Man. So they have the half potato.
That's right.
And you forget it's on the menu until and that now they have a loaded half grilled potato.
Is that what that was?
That was loaded.
Yeah, that was loaded.
I'll vouch for that. I'll vouch for that one.
I should have took a picture.
Me and the missus.
Yeah,
will
that's
vouch for
right. That's right. Brian had one there after I was talking about it last time.
And I've got one in my cart right now to get picked up.
That thing was slathered.
Yes, it was
in cheese
yeah.
with some bacon on top of it,
sour cream, and
Oh,
some butter.
wow.
Yeah, I lost 5 pounds eating it.
Easily.
Yeah, it was good, delicious. I mean, it's I've never had that or seen that anywhere else. Where it's
the hot
grilled like
grill,
that.
yeah. I would agree. Yeah, and it's just I do forget about it, and sometimes I'll put some chili on top of it during the winter time.
Wow, yeah. Come on now, that made me have regrets.
Chili's really good here. Chili's really good here at Baumhower's Victory Grill, but hard to beat the wings more than anything here at Baumhower's Victory Grill. We're here till 7 o'clock. So,
well, Wes had a smorgasbord.
Yes, I
of
did.
The menu. I did
Still
yesterday.
hear that.
I had seafood at one of Wes's. He's eating at this spot now. They have a new one now. Wes, a new building, Papa Doobie's.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah. I know you really had a good meal there with us.
Yes.
That night, and yeah, they have a new building, in a new spot they got in Gunnersville, and it was really good last night. I
I ate with Drew and his parents one night.
Yeah.
We did have a good time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. This was after we left one of our sponsors, and
Right.
we did a remote, and we went over there, and that building was kind of rustic.
I've
This one's
been to
new.
the new one.
Have you really?
Yes.
Okay.
I went. It was 2 years ago. It's
Okay.
been there a while.
Yeah, and it's been a couple years since they built it.
So I learned something from Papa Doobie's. Bread pudding. I love bread pudding. It doesn't love me, but I love it.
Right.
Anyway, so I'm over here wrestling with my mic.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah. So Papa Doobie's, you get your bread pudding and you keep the cellophane over it. And then you heat it in the microwave and the cellophane doesn't melt.
Hmm.
And it heats it up where it's hot enough for the sauce to melt on it. It's unbelievable.
So some transfer quarterbacks that have landed at some spots. Trinidad Chambliss has gone from Ferris State to Ole Miss. That has happened. That is 100% done and committed right there. Ferris State played really well last year on the Division II level.
Yep.
I mean, ripped right through everybody. We'll see how that translates over to life in the SEC.
Right. Could be a little different.
Can be.
What position he play?
Quarterback.
Corner?
Quarter.
Quarterback.
QB.
Oh.
Yeah, I heard he may be a guy that they use in gadget plays and uses mobility. We'll see.
Gio Lopez is indeed at North Carolina.
He was one of the best quarterbacks I watched last year.
the former James Clemens Jet.
He was unbelievable.
Which is why Nico Iamaleava is not going to North Carolina, according to No 3.
Nico has indeed entered the transfer portal. They put his NIL value at $2.1 million. We'll see what happens in that regard. Some other names that you might be familiar with. I'll go Jake Weir, the Mississippi State quarterback.
Yeah.
Spent, I think, 2 years there at Mississippi State, and he is now in the transfer portal. And Mike Wright, remember that name?
He's been to 6,520 colleges.
Well, his latest college is Northwestern.
Yeah, he started.
But Mike Wright is a senior from Woodward Academy in the Atlanta metropolitan area.
Is he 32?
He might be.
Yeah, I just wondered because I couldn't believe he still had eligibility left. I mean, he's a good athlete. I first saw him at Vanderbilt, and remember he started in that game where they routed Hawaii over in Hawaii.
That's right.
And then he went to Mississippi State, and he was actually going to be a backup for Leach, and then ended up at Northwestern. So, I don't know. We'll see. I really don't think the Vols want Mike Wright, to be honest with you.
Remember the name Zach Calzada? This is from the previous portal period back in December. Zach Calzada, the former Auburn quarterback.
Never played at Auburn.
He transferred from Incarnate Word to Kentucky.
Yeah, this wasn't Cam Ward.
No.
So, how many teams has the guy at Tulane, Drew, the quarterback, TJ Finley.
I heard y'all talking about.
Alabama's played him
3 times. LSU.
Yeah.
Auburn.
He was the starting quarterback
Kentucky.
all 3 times.
Western Kentucky in the opener last year, he played against Alabama.
So
and he was at Texas State
now
before
they suspended him, right?
Well, he was at Texas State before he was at Western Kentucky. He had 1 year at Texas State.
Yeah, because Connor beat Texas State.
Yeah, and then he went to Western Kentucky, and then he was slated to be the starting quarterback at Tulane for our good friend John Summerall until he bought a stolen car.
So, what's the outcome on that so far?
Under investigation. So who knows? I mean, have
they released him?
He's been suspended from team activities. I think right now it's in limbo is the best way to put it. And then John did turn his back on Nico Iamale overrated. So, and I don't blame him. I wouldn't want the headache either. I mean, John is very, very close to being a Power 4 head coach and perhaps potentially in the SEC. Needs to have a good team. He lost his quarterback to Duke, who was a good young player, who was a redshirt freshman. And then he had his other quarterbacks all basically transfer. So, I mean, it's been rough. But if he can find a quarterback,
it'll stay.
He's a good enough coach that he can get them back potentially. I don't know if they can get him to the playoff. I would hope so, but he can at least win their league. And again, I think John is going to be in the SEC. I wouldn't be surprised because I think
Kentucky.
It depends on Stoops if he eventually throws up the white flag, and I think Coach Stoops has done a good job. See that's what we were that's what we were arguing about on the show today when Jeff was going off on a tangent. We booted him. Like we actually, all I've ever said that made Jeff so angry is I told the truth. I said Kentucky. I never said they couldn't make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I said, especially with an expanded field. I said, one of these years, Kentucky can make playoffs, but they're never going to win the SEC, and they're never going to win a national championship in football. Now, that doesn't mean –
never's a long time.
Yeah, never's a long time.
Yeah, but they're just not. I mean, I basically gave 5 teams today that in the SEC that would never win the SEC nor the national championship. And so that's just what we were talking about.
Kentucky.
Right.
Well, probably in our lifetimes. In our lifetime.
In South Carolina.
Well, you put in South Carolina.
Yeah, they're not going to win the SEC nor the national championship, but they can make the playoff. They almost did last year. So, I mean, in all these 5 schools, I said they can all make the playoffs, but I'm talking about winning the Southeastern Conference.
I think South
Carolina
Carolina's
winning the last game. Steve, have they ever come close to winning a national championship in football?
No.
Give me a break.
No.
And I said Missouri. I mean, come on. And Eli has done a good job there. And they've almost made the playoff too.
That's
but we're talking about when they've gotten to the look, Pinkel got there twice.
Yeah, he did.
And they had to turn the scoreboards off. Both times.
But he got there twice.
By Alabama and Auburn. He just got boat raced.
He got there twice.
Yeah.
What's the fifth?
So it was like
Kentucky,
I said, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And let me think for a second. Who did we come up with?
Mississippi State.
Yeah, there you go. Mississippi State. And really was 6 too, because I said Ole Miss too. Even though I thought Ole Miss had the best team in the league last year, and they could have won the SEC championship if everything had fallen right and it got to Atlanta.
If they just,
but it was really 6. Ole Miss and Mississippi State.
Take a field goal in the first quarter, they win both those games.
And then I actually gave Kentucky a compliment. I said, even though they were awful last year and they were 4-8, they beat Ole Miss and come out of the playoff.
You know what I said? The last thing I said to Jeff.
What? Goodbye.
No. I said, you know what they call it when Kentucky loses a football game?
What?
Saturday.
Well, or
you remember that?
Or you could have just said how many days till basketball practice, because that's basically what they care about. But I'm just saying, and it was really
Coach
sick.
Bryant won. So I'm telling you, anything's possible. Coach Bryant won the Southeast Conference at Kentucky.
I know. I'm just talking about in the modern times now.
Yeah, I know.
Mississippi State and Ole Miss was the other two we talked about. We really talked about Mississippi State because they're really at a low ebb right now. But we did say they did reach the SEC championship game once. People forget about that. 98.
Right.
Got boat raced by a national championship
paid.
Tennessee team.
Well
there
paid.
you go. So by Jackie Sherrill, he got them there. But in the context of it, I also mentioned Ole Miss. Ole Miss has a much better shot than Mississippi State, but I think it's still going to be hard for Ole Miss. But yet, I did say all 6 could make the playoff. Really, all 5 or 6 of those could make the playoff, an expanded playoff. It's very possible. But I'm just talking about winning an SEC championship, which is extremely hard.
It is.
And even harder now, winning a national championship, and you got to win 4 games. That's just not going to happen. But they can all make the playoff. I mean, look, guys, Shane Beamer, we're all talking about South Carolina being a contender next year, and they should be. Before the season started last year, we were talking about them getting fired. So, I mean, you just got to understand something. It can turn really quickly.
No question.
I was listening to Feinbaum on my way to see my parents, and he's talking, and I understand what he's trying to do, and that's why I try to have a different type of show. He's talking about how he's never seen the Alabama football program more apathetic.
I think it's because,
and I disagree with that completely.
I don't think it's apathetic.
No,
I think they kind of shot themselves in the foot. Alabama needs to quit worrying about everybody else and be Alabama, right? We should have a spring game.
Well, and they should just let Kellen DeBoer do what he wants to do and just let him build the program. His record speaks for itself. It was a tough first year. But you go back in history, you went through them. I mean, everybody's seen years where you transition from one coach to another. It never goes well the first year. There's always these huge bumps that you have to work through. Usually the second and by the third year, in Alabama's history, the third year has usually always been where you break through. And I mean, Mike DeBose won an SEC championship and beat Steve Spurrier twice. Something that Coach Spurrier will never get over.
Twice a year. I was at both games.
Yeah.
I wish I had a video of my dad in that game.
Wow.
He never looked up.
Yeah.
He couldn't see because everybody was standing most of the game. And he just looked, he looked like Neil Malzoni, whatever the guy.
Leo Mazzoni.
Leo Mazzoni in the Rocket.
Yeah. He'd be rocking. And he'd look up and go, what's going on? Look at me.
It was crazy, and we know how good Coach Spurrier was, but it just goes to show you that Alabama, if you have the right, you can get the players, you have the infrastructure.
Who was the Butler tight end that played in the NFL? He played for Butler High School.
Sean Draper.
Sean Draper had the best block in Alabama, one of the best blocks in Alabama history on Sean. Yep.
He just absolutely brutalized.
And the guy was a big-time player.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally blocked him 10 to 12 yards down.
And I'm going to tell y'all something
on his back.
About how, and I need to talk to, because I don't think he's in yet. I need to talk to the folks, Greg Patterson and all those guys. He needs to be in I don't think he's in the Huntsville-Madison County Athletic Hall of Fame. He needs to be because I watched him. That's how old I'm getting. I saw him play all 3. The dude was a 3-sport stud. He was absolutely a great football player. He played for Jack Dawson basketball, and I saw him go dead center at Huntsville High as a first baseman. Took a fastball and racked it over the. He could play. He was a really good baseball player. I mean, Draper was a great athlete.
Well, think about it. The guy played tight end at Alabama, and then played a tackle in the NFL
for a few years.
Yeah, well, for 10 minutes, he got my vote.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you could even think about doing it.
And remember, and this didn't go well, but DuBose tried to make an offensive lineman out of him in Alabama when he moved him away from tight end.
Right. Well, you
Didn't have tackles.
No, yeah, it just takes a minute.
But
tackle, playing guard and tackle is so much different, much less tight end and tackle.
Yeah. But he was a great blocking tight end. Wes is right.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a steamroller and very, very physical, very, very good athlete, very nimble on his feet. And he doesn't get – people kind of forget about him, but I don't think he's in the Huntsville-Madison County Athletic Hall of Fame. I could check with Greg Patterson on that, but he needs to be because he was a great athlete at Butler High School.
The 2025 Heisman Trophy odds have just been updated from FanDuel. Your top SEC.
I'm still trying to find FanDuel Network for the Braves, by the way.
Yeah, don't hold your breath.
Is it on Comcast? Because it says Xfinity's a sponsor.
I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know that.
It's on my parents' cable. That's Spectrum.
I've got it on DirecTV.
I know.
Arch Manning is your odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy, and that's followed by Cade Klubnik, the Clemson wide receiver, followed by this
Clemson quarterback, brother.
Yeah, this is followed by Garrett Nussmeier, the LSU quarterback.
Well, if you get points for throwing interceptions, you'll win it.
Thank you. That was my thought exactly.
What an opener, man. Clemson and LSU.
Yeah.
LSU's due, though.
Yeah, T-Bob hoping so.
Yeah.
But
it's overdue. Anytime they get beat, must watch.
Oh, it is.
It really is.
I mean, whiskey and wine. There's a lot of whiskey.
And a lot of wine. A lot of wine. A lot of wine.
It's not for kids under 16.
No,
not for kids under 21.
Your top, in terms of QBR, the top returning starting quarterback in the SEC is Garrett Nussmeier. Ahead of him were Dart, Milroe, and Beck.
How many interceptions he had? And there were 4 of them called back because you're not allowed to block
South Carolina.
Yeah. They called 2 back.
Nico was 9th on the list last year in SEC QBR.
And don't forget that call kept him out of the playoff.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Let's go ahead and take our final time out here in this first hour. We'll talk Chris Doring on the other side. We're live here from Baumhower's Victory Grille.
Ford Motor Company. From America, for America. Hi, folks. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford with a real quick quiz. Out of all the manufacturers, do you know which auto company employs the most hourly workers in America? Ford. Do you know which company assembles the most vehicles in this country? Ford. That's not just a coincidence. It's a commitment. A 120-year-old commitment to build in America for America. And during this unprecedented moment in automotive history, you stand to benefit big time. Woody Anderson Ford is now offering employee pricing. You pay what we pay. We've got over 190 F-150s for you to choose from with generous finance rates and the best deals of the year on America's best-selling truck for 48 years in a row. Employee pricing can save you thousands off MSRP, and with over 600 Fords for you to choose from, there's a good chance you'll find just exactly what you're looking for. This offer ends May 31st, so hurry in. Woody Anderson Ford.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. Day 2 for the NBA's play-in tournament. Tonight, the 2 9-10 games, with the winners advancing to play for the 8 seeds on Friday night. Both games on ESPN Radio and TV. First up, coverage underway for the Heat and Bulls in Chicago. The winner to play in Atlanta Friday. Then it's the Mavericks and Kings in Sacramento. PJ Carlesimo will call that game on ESPN Radio.
Going in on paper, I think and playing here in Sacramento, you have to favor the Kings. But to me, I still that trio in Dallas, if they get the production that we're not certain that we're going to get from the backcourt, but that trio in the front court can just alter a game with their defense and with their rebound.
PJ Carlesimo on Freddie and Harry. The winner of tonight's Kings-Mavericks game will play in Memphis Friday night. Basketball Hall of Famer Joe Dumars, the new executive VP of basketball ops for the Pelicans. Dumars won 2 NBA titles as a player and 1 in the front office with the Pistons. Duke freshman Con Knippel will enter the NBA draft. He's projected as a lottery pick after averaging 14 points and 4 boards a game this season. Baseball today, the Padres beat the Cubs 4-2. Fernando Tatis Jr. and Manny Machado each drive in 2. The Cardinals beat the Astros 4-1 in St. Louis. Lars Nootbaar with a 3-run home run in that game for the Cardinals.
What's up, kiddos? Clinton Yates here. And coming up on Thursday, we'll have 2 more NBA play-in games to react to, and we'll tell you which lower seed might make some noise in the postseason. That's Thursday on Clinton and Friends at 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
97.7 ESPN The Zone. Welcome to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, 256-576-4977.
That's how I roll. And I'm not going to drink and drive anymore.
That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Wes and Steve.
We are holding for Chris Doring here in just a couple of minutes and played some audio last hour from Kirk Herbstreit earlier today on the Pat McAfee program. What's wrong with college football? This is what's wrong with college football, according to Kirk Herbstreit.
Everybody's afraid of litigation. Everybody's afraid of the threat of litigation. Nobody says what they really think. Nobody's willing to be a leader. Nobody's leading this sport. That's where we are right now. You know, you have an SEC commissioner who's in charge of just
Why is no one willing to take that? Why don't we have somebody? We know how big college football is. Why is no one doing that?
Because what I just said, everyone's afraid right now in this player movement. If you do anything that's perceived to not be willing to give what the players want, then you're a problem. You need to be removed. And so people are just kind of like leading like this. Like they're terrified to lead. They're terrified to make big decisions. And ultimately they're sitting back and not doing what to me they need to do, which is having some balls and making some decisions and taking the heat. And the problem right now is if you do that, you get an attorney who either threatens to sue you or sues you, and now you're in a tough spot because the players win all these arguments. The players win all these debates. I've seen ESPN analysts come out and they want to blame the NCAA. Like, when in doubt, just blame the NCAA. I mean, that's all you have to do. The NCAA is like the boogeyman. You just when in doubt, it's never a play. Has anybody ever come out and said a player's ever at fault ever?
Well, Nika, this one's been pretty loud.
So, wanted to play that again. Just, I mean, I know you've been saying it for a while, Wes, but hearing it from a national perspective, I feel like we're finally the ball is rolling down.
Well, I think that everybody's taking about all they could take, and that's what's going on now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, and they're as frustrated as ever. All this stuff, none of it makes any sense, and so they're hoping. You know, I don't know if they'll get anything done or not. I think again, the only thing that will save everybody is Congress. That has to happen. They have to be able to do contracts, in my mind. There has to be a system where the schools where the players leave are somehow compensated unless the kid graduates. Right? I mean, unless the kids graduate, then it ought to be you get what you should have one time you can leave and one time you can leave after you graduate. But if you stay a certain time, they put a lot of time and treasure in you, and to develop you, they deserve something, right? They've sent you to school. They pay, that's they got a weight coach there. They got a weight team. They got a nutrition team. They have people that are out trying to help you get NIL deals, yada, yada, yada. They have all these things going. They have specialists coming in to help you with your taxes, to help you with your life skills. They're doing all this to develop you. They deserve some compensation, just like an NFL team gets some compensation. But this has to be done
with guardrails.
Yeah, you got to put up guardrails. But the only one that can do it because of the lawfare that's going around is Congress. In my humble opinion, and we've heard from people that know a lot more than me say the same thing.
And here we are. And I think the spring meetings will once again be very eye-opening, and especially after what we've heard. Kirby has been very vocal this spring.
Just recently, but he was scared to say anything. We talked about it. You and I had a conversation where and I said, I hope Kirby takes the leadership, and I think he's finally is. I think Josh Heupel and them did, they're going to catch a lot of heat, by the end of the year if they don't do very well. And I don't know how good they're going to be from people in Tennessee when they're not. They were positive every year. I mean, even when Butch was coach, they'd be positive, right? They don't sound positive right now at Rocky Top. And this is with Nico, much less without Nico. So it's going to be interesting. You never know, though. Football is a weird thing in the way it's played, and different teams can get on a roll. I mean, and you just never know.
Let's talk some more college football right now. Chris Doering from the SEC Network, as well as SEC Radio and SiriusXM Satellite Radio. Chris is kind enough to join us. How are you, Chris?
I'm good, guys. How are you? It's been a minute.
It has been a minute, and boy, there is just after a couple of decades, I feel pretty secure in saying there is no such thing as an off season. There is no off season there. I keep waiting for a little bit of a down period, but this just ain't happening anytime soon, Chris.
Well, the NFL kind of created a 12-month relevancy. The SEC has kind of taken a page out of that book, some of which they'd probably rather stay out of the headlines for, but never a dull moment for sure. And I can tell you what, the coaches probably are amongst the biggest proponents that there needs to be some sort of calendar change with these two transfer portals and recruiting going through the summer. I mean, it just doesn't seem like those guys ever get a day off. I can't imagine how there's not more burnout amongst college coaches than there currently is.
Well, at least one storyline that is growing a little bit is this idea of a general manager, seeing someone like who's ahead of the Senior Bowl head into the SEC. I'm at least intrigued in that storyline to see where that continues, Chris.
Yeah, no doubt. My man Jim Nagy is absolutely killing it at OU right now. So I think it's a great move. We got one down here in Gainesville at the University of Florida. You're seeing a lot more folks adopting that NFL model. Obviously in Chapel Hill, put together that combo coming along with Bill Belichick. So, yeah, I think it's something we're going to continue to see proliferate throughout college football and throughout college athletics in general.
Well, and everybody's been kind of circling, honestly, on April, but with the lack of a definite ruling and still during this tumultuous window time, I just a lot of things still feel up in the air right now when it's around this sport that we love, and that's college football, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of things up in the air, but I don't feel like there's as much negativity as what we were dealing with last summer when we went to Dallas for media days. There was a lot of talk about off-field things going on with the congressional settlement and NIL and transfer portal. And then we kicked the ball off for the first week of the season in August, and we had the greatest college football season that I can remember in my lifetime. So the product on the field seems unaffected. It's the stuff on the outside of the game themselves that we got to get figured out.
So diving into the spring, what impresses you the most? I know it's a pretty broad question, but is there a team on the horizon that you're kind of early on, you like their temperature on what you've seen out of the spring from a said team, Chris?
I don't know a damn thing about these teams, man. I mean, this was a time that we used to be on site. We used to do spring tours. We used to, I'd call spring games. I've done Florida's game the last few years, Auburn's game the last couple of years, get a chance to talk to the coaches and understand the depth charts and the hierarchy there. I understand it's kind of a sign of the times, but with 10 games scheduled for this past Saturday that we're going to be televised on the SEC network, and not a single one of them was, I feel like we know less about teams in the spring than we ever have. Obviously I know a little bit more about Florida, and I can speak to that, having been at the spring game in the Swamp on Saturday / celebration for the basketball national championship. But yeah, I mean, we know about, returning players. We know about, the coaches, the status quo with no coaching turnover and very little change in terms of coordinators. That's been one of the things that's kind of stood out to me the most. But I'm actually intrigued by something that didn't occur this year. And that being Colorado and Syracuse petitioning the NCAA to have a spring game played between their two schools. The language that was used by the NCAA saying that it would be an unfair advantage with teams not having enough time to do their own kind of team games with this late in the season. That to me means that that's probably something we're going to see on the horizon. I wouldn't doubt that we get some of those exhibition type games / joint practices maybe as early as next spring.
Well, you went there. Tell me about the Gators. It was, listen, there was a lot of people, me included, were looking at that schedule last year thinking 7 wins would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very similar schedule as it was. Obviously, we're just flipping the SEC games where those are being played. Florida goes down to Miami this year as well. But, I think the talk was how difficult it was last year, and Florida faced it head on. Didn't start the way they wanted early in the season, but got hot towards the end of the season. And, I think a lot of that momentum is going to carry over into this season. Now, TJ Lagway was held out for precautionary purposes throughout the entirety of the spring, didn't throw a single football, but was involved in the practices, handing the football off, was involved in signaling the plays, was in all the meetings. So I think they've done a good job of surrounding him with talent. The offensive line returns a lot of their starters, including Slaughter in the center position. You look at the running back group, probably 5 or 6 deep of really talented running backs. Receivers, you get Trey Wilson back healthy this year. You add J. Michael Sturdivant from UCLA, the big receiver that certainly looks the part. And then you add, 3 freshmen, with one of them being Dallas Wilson, who absolutely showed out on Saturday. So I'm excited about the offense, and I think you can make an argument that the linebacking core on the defensive side is amongst the best in the SEC. So I think they've continued to upgrade talent, and Coach Napier and his staff do a good job of finding the guys in the transfer portal that fit well, particularly at the wide receiver position.
So you look at the last 2 years of Florida's opening, they early in the season they didn't look so hot, and then during the season they got better and better and better. Do you think you'll try to do something a little different this year to get them ready? Because the Miami game was better than the year before when they opened up. Where was it? Utah?
Last year, yeah. We were embarrassed by, I'll say we because it's my alma mater, we were embarrassed by Miami at home, pushed around physically on both lines of scrimmage, and Texas A&M kind of did the same thing in the third week of the season. But miraculously, they were able to get that figured out. Yeah, they've got to find a way to be more ready from the jump. But I do think this is a new group of guys. There were some holdovers that are gone. And I think, the cohesiveness and the hunger that they have is something that I haven't seen in a while. And I think the accountability that Lagway brings, the way that he raises the play of everybody else, these guys are in lockstep. And I think they're going to start much faster than they have the last couple of seasons.
So another portal period, and we still have the flux of still no ruling, but everyone wants to talk about Nico and the Tennessee situation. We had Jimmy Himes on yesterday. He told us that he didn't have very high expectations for this team that was a playoff team last year. What was your expectations at Tennessee, and what does no Nico do in terms of what you think about what Josh has moving forward this fall?
I'm going to pat myself on the back because last year the dark horse team that I had was Tennessee. I picked them to go to the playoff, and obviously they did that. Didn't advance far, went that Ohio State matchup, but got in. But I think the ironic part of what we're talking about, I thought they'd take a step back anyway, largely because of this team's identity last year was defense and Dylan Sampson running the football. Like Dylan Sampson's gone. Lose James Pierce Jr. from the defensive side. So I think that they were taking a step back. But ironically, like Nico going to ask for more money when I don't think he provided the return on the original investment they gave him. He was very average, in my opinion, last season. And again, one, because of the defense and the running back position, particularly Dylan Sampson.
And here we go in the state of college football right now as a whole, Chris. I mean, I know this is not the first time we mentioned the the UNLV quarterback during the season last year, just up and running. But this is because from the numbers that we were told, he's already been invested over $5 million during his tenure, even getting paid as a high school kid in his senior year at high school. That this is a serious money commitment. And Tennessee's now in the search for a quarterback at the moment, Chris.
Well, I think this serves as a cautionary tale. Right now, it's a cautionary tale to other programs and head coaches. Depending on where Nico lands and the amount of money he's able to get, it may be a cautionary tale for him because I thought he was in a great place. If he ends up somewhere else with, taking less money, then maybe other folks will think twice about it. But, I think this is for coaches. I understand you want to go out and get the most highly sought after quarterback that everybody's rating high, but there has to be some motivation and some tie to a school or desire to be at a school more than just the financial gain. I don't know what the reports were. I think they're probably true, but when you have a guy asking for more money or potentially threatening that hold out of a playoff game, like that's something wrong with that. I don't want a guy like that in the locker room. Josh Heupel didn't want a guy like that in the locker room. The teammates around him supposedly didn't want a guy in the locker room like that. So I think you're going to see coaches be a little more judicious with who they're deciding to bring in and what the motivations are outside of the financial gain.
And Chris, 100%. You're 100% right. I mean, it's hopefully this is a wake-up call for a lot of people. One thing that I've always struggled to understand is the Rashada deal in Florida and how he can sue for something when he never did anything in Florida. What's he saying happened? Do you know?
Understanding what I know about it, Florida exercised their right to get out of the contract before there was ever any payment due. So I don't know that you'll ever find anything that comes from any of the filings that Rashada made. I mean, but look, we're talking about a guy that's now on his fourth school, right? I mean, you throw in the fact that he was interested in going to Miami and then Florida and then ended up at Arizona State, Georgia, now somewhere else like that. You see this with some of these players that nothing ever seems to work out because they're always looking for a greener pasture. And in life, particularly when you're in college, you got to fight through some of the adversity. You got to grow through some of the challenges. I think when these guys just are looking for the easier path of less resistance, you're going to find these guys that never really pan out, and a lot of it is just because they haven't had the stick-to-itiveness.
So if we had if you were the head of the NCAA and you could put some guardrails on this NIL and the system we have right now, what would you do? What do you think ought to be done, Chris?
But, unfortunately, the NCAA is so terrified of litigation that they're basically winless in the last decade plus when they've had to go to court. So they're terrified of putting anything that's going to land them back in a courtroom. But to me, and it's always been the same thing. Like, people will talk about, well, marijuana is legal in certain states. Yeah, but when you get a chance to do something special, there's a special group of rules. I know that regular students can move around and go to different schools when they want to, but I think there needs to be something where players opt in. They decide, these are the rules. This is what I'm going to agree to, and I don't know how all that works. But like when you're able to do something special, sometimes you have to sacrifice things that other people don't have to sacrifice. And I think it needs to get to a point where the players are held all to the same sort of level of expectation, accountability. If you sign a contract, it needs to have some sort of length of requirement to it. And, there needs to be some follow through, required follow through on the player side.
Talking to Chris Doering right now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. And I guess the other big national story just surrounding the health of college football is, I'm just surprised that the SEC is still pumping up footballs and has programs. And I'm just, evidently the glory days of the SEC are in the rear view mirror now, Chris. I didn't know if you were under that understanding as well moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, Roman tried to make that statement off the top of our spring preview show on Friday that the SEC was no longer the best conference in college football. I would take exception to that because, I mean, it really depends on how do you judge it. I think championships, obviously, Greg Sankey values championships. He's preached that from the top down. The SEC has not had a team in the national title game the last 2 years. That has to change. But you talk about depth of talent. I mean, the Big Ten, top heavy with maybe 3 or 4 teams that are good. And the way they schedule, they don't have each other playing one another. So I love the SEC from top to bottom. You can get beat by any team on any given Saturday. And we're not shying away from having our best teams play one another as not to have them cannibalize one another, man. We love big regular season games. I do worry a little bit about the physicality of this league and what that does to wear down teams by the time they get to the postseason. But I think, to me, what determines a good conference is the depth of talent from top to bottom. And you go back last year, I mean, even Ole Miss, one of the best teams in the league, gets beaten by Kentucky at home. Yeah. From any given week, anything can happen. And I know some people may say, well, that's a lack of real elite talent at the top. I don't think that's the case. I think you're talking about a lot of parity in this league, and I think you're seeing it with Vegas's preseason win total, with only one team being above a 9.5 projected win total. I think that speaks to what we can expect in terms of further cannibalism this year.
Yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly right there, Chris. But and there's no doubt once we get towards late May, that conversation will once again pop up. It does feel like 9 conference games is coming. Would that be a mistake?
I'm all for 9. The thing that I was initially against the idea of having guaranteed spots in the college football playoff for the SEC and the Big Ten, but a 9-win season in the Big 12 is not the same as a 9-win season in the SEC. So I think you have to redefine what success looks like when you're playing in this conference. And you go back to what we have in the NCAA basketball tournament. 14 teams, 14 of the 16 get into the NCAA tournament. Women, 10 of the 16 get in. In baseball, every single year we're loaded, but yet we only get 3 of 16 out of the SEC into the college football playoff field. That just doesn't seem like it really is equitable. So I think that we're going to have to redefine how we look at comparing conferences. And I do like the idea of we get the 4 guaranteed spots in there. I like expanding it to 9 conference games, give everybody a chance to play one another a little more frequently, and fans to travel to some of those destinations they haven't traveled to a ton.
Well, if you get a cheat code on how to figure out what these teams look like before we get to Atlanta, give me a heads up, brother. I mean,
are they going to change again this week?
This is this is tough enough to do as a full-time job. I can't imagine having 2 full-time jobs like you do at bare minimum.
Yeah, don't do your homework and turn it in yet. Let's wait till after the portal's over with, and then we can kind of take a look at where the rosters stand after the dust settles a little bit.
Drew's got one question for you,
Hey,
sir.
Chris, it's going to be great to see you in a few months over in Atlanta, but I wanted to ask you one question because we all know how important DJ Lagway is to the Gators next year. There's been some health concerns with him. I've heard from good friends that cover the Gators about a sports hernia surgery. Where does he stand physically, and do they expect him to be ready for fall camp?
Yeah, they haven't made a statement on it. From my understanding, it's something that lingered from even all the way back to high school that he dealt with last season. Again, I think it's a very precautionary step that they're taking during the spring to not have anything further aggravated or put more stress on his shoulder. So I don't know the details exactly, but from everything I understand, he'll be ready to go. And I would much rather have a healthy DJ Lagway in late August than I would in late April.
Chris, always appreciate the time, sir, and look forward to seeing you down on the beach.
Sounds good. Yeah, we'll be in Destin here in a little over a month, man. Looking forward to it.
Likewise. Likewise. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Chris. You're the best. That is Chris Doring from the SEC Network. And boy, yeah, there is no downtime in covering collegiate athletics at all.
No, I mean, on campuses right now is maybe the busiest time of the year because you just wrapped up spring football. You got baseball going on. You got softball going on.
Recruiting.
You got basketball.
Recruiting.
You got
portal.
recruiting. You got basketball, transfer portal madness going on when you're trying to build your roster and people not satisfied with the 10 guys you got. And you read idiot posts on X about how Nate Oates is peaked and can't put together a championship caliber roster. Yeah, but I did like the idiot that said it. Somebody pointed out and says, well, if you're going to say that, at least spell his name right.
What, did I misspell Oates?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Can't fix stupid. Somebody told me that one time.
You can medicate it.
Yeah, I'm sure that guy's medicated.
And you can certainly do that here at Baumhower's Victory Grill. Taking a look at the bar across the way.
Yeah.
The place has filled up as you are taking a look.
Yes, it does.
Taking a look, WZZN TV is the camera never pointed on us.
Right.
It's always on you, the fans out there.
There it is.
Here at Baumhower's Victory Grill.
Awesome.
So come on by. Final 30 minutes belong to you. Hope you enjoyed that conversation with Chris Doring right here on the drive. Let's go ahead and take our first time out. 256-576-4977, the number to call in.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
The company is Eagle Masonry and Insulation, but did you know they're also Eagle Landscaping and Dirt Work? Eagle can take care of all your landscaping needs, including irrigation, sod work, and planting, both plants and trees. On the dirt work side, Eagle can grade and build your pads, haul dirt in or out, and even do erosion control. Philip Love and his team can do it all for you. The website is the same, insulatewitheagle.com, as is the phone number, 256-755-1556. Give them a call and see what Eagle can do for you. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money. Where's the best place for sports? What about the best place for wings? If you answered Jefferson's for both, you're right. Jefferson's is also a great place for value. Every Monday, kids eat free with the purchase of an adult meal, and teachers bring your teacher ID, and you eat free every first Tuesday of the month up to $15. At Newmarket, Jefferson's will be opening a new location at 2190 County Road 65 very soon. Jefferson's, best place for sports, best place for wings. Hampton Cove, and soon in Newmarket.
Have you ever turned your back on God? Have you ever absolutely known the right thing to do and just turned around and walked away in disobedience? I know that I have. Aren't we thankful for our great and merciful God who loves us and forgives us and remembers our sin no more? I'm so thankful that his mercies are fresh every day. I need that, and I suspect you do too. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor of Cross Point Church, and if you're looking for a church home, come see us. We're smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison, and check us out at cpcfamily.org.
Hi, my name is Dan Aldridge. I'm here to let you know about the Aldridge Law Firm and the soon-to-be-announced Legal Town Center. I've been practicing law in Alabama since 1984, and I also practice in Tennessee. And I'm from North Alabama, and I'm here to represent you and take care of your legal needs. For many of us, hiring an attorney is not high on the priority list and maybe a little scary, but it's something that we all need at some point. So by all means, do your homework. And if you need representation for car accident, wrongful death, medical malpractice, nursing home abuse, or estate planning, or any other matter, just give us a call at 256-534-3188. And you can email me at Dan, that is Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. God bless America.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
This will turn journalism on its ear.
Watch our stream on WZZN TV on Twitch and YouTube.
But you are the greatest hero in American history.
We are 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Here at Baumhower's Victory Grill, West Neighbors, Drew DeArmond, Steve Moulton here with you. So earlier today, we are a fine affiliate of the Chuck Oliver program here in North Alabama, and we were actually airing the Braves pregame at that point, but I was listening to the Chuck Oliver show on that kind of a backdoor screen.
Another F for the Braves.
Yes, another L indeed. Heath Klein came from the Columbia area to produce the Chuck Oliver show. Well, he was subbing in for Chuck today. Ryan Fowler was a guest in hour number 2 of the Chuck Oliver show when Heath asked the following.
The other thing, though, from the outside, the perception will be if it doesn't go that way, if they're not a playoff team, if it's another, we'll say 8-win type of season, the perception is going to be that the fans are going to howl for his head and that he's in trouble. And whether that's true or not doesn't really matter right now. What I'm curious about is this, Ryan. Let's just say for whatever reason, they need to make a move. Either DeBoer says, hey, I messed up, man. I got in a hornet's nest. I didn't know what I was in for. Get me back to the West Coast or the Midwest or NFL. I don't care. Get me out of here. Because the 2 guys that were perceived as the 2 top candidates that they could actually get were him and a guy in Mike Norvell, who Lord knows a year later, that reflection in the mirror looks real different. I'm just curious, if Kalen DeBoer just up and left after this year for whatever reason, is there even a guy the fans want right now that they could get? Is you say bring back Saban or, go get Sark. We saw that those kind of people were not available. Dan Lanning was not available. Like, is there even a guy, if they did get mad enough at DeBoer, that's the guy the fans want right now?
Let's hear his answer.
You want to hear his answer?
Yeah.
All right, Ryan Fowler, the floor is yours.
I can't even really wrap my head around it. I mean, it's more like
Alabama, showed you at times back in the NCAA that they were quick on the finger of pulling the plug. I think if you were at Auburn, where they flip, coaches every 3 or 4 years, I would hope that Alabama fans would be patient. But I don't know if there's a guy. I mean, I do a radio show 4 hours a day. We talk nothing but Alabama football. And that conversation has not even come up because I don't think there's enough doubters that believe that came on the board. Yeah, you got sprinkled out through there. But listen, I remember Nick Saban in 2007. I used to take phone calls about this guy will never get it off the ground. He's never going to be able to do it his way. I don't know if there's a guy. I mean, yeah, you could say that a lot of the fan base wanted Lane Kiffin. But I don't know if that, could you imagine the PR? Because you can get by with things at Ole Miss that you can't get by with in Tuscaloosa. That's not holding to a different standard. It's just being honest. The PR nightmare that could cause here in Tuscaloosa would be an issue. And I kind of see why maybe Greg Byrne did even flirt with that opportunity. It was probably just something that they didn't even really consider, did not even really look at. I know Sark was probably a guy that they would love to have engaged. But I think he was probably at that time going through some issues and trying to work out some personal side of things. I'm glad everything worked out for him. But I think Sark would be that guy. But like I said, I'm by no means. I'm so far away from, if you're 0 to 100, I'm probably a 1 or a 2 that Kalen Moore's not the guy.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying, Ryan, that they should be looking at anybody or that they will be. I just think it's a little different when you've got that shiny thing that the fans are convinced, we could just go hire this guy. This guy will solve all our problems. I don't see that guy for Alabama right now. Yeah, no, that's my whole point. I don't see that guy for Alabama when they just saw it's not. You don't just wave a wand and say, well, we'll just hire Sark or we'll hire Kirby or fill in the blank. There's not that obvious guy. And I wonder if that at least helps a little bit if DeBoer does still take a little longer to get the balloon off the ground, that there's just not that obvious protege of Saban that's sitting around having a big year, but at a place you could get him out of, that kind of thing. There doesn't seem to be that guy to me, but I was curious if you thought there was that guy.
No. And I just don't think right now in the current structure of college football. And I think that's the part that you got to credit Kalen DeBoer for believing is in his confidence of his system. To be able to say, hey, nobody's willing to follow Nick Saban. I'll do it. I mean, that to me, it should be something that he gets a lot of credit for, to be able to raise his hand. It's kind of like Ray Perkins following Coach Paul Bear Bryant back in '83, to be able to say, yeah, I'll take on that challenge. Yeah, I know it's not going to be easy. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a fight to the very, very end. But I think when you step back for just a couple of minutes, I just don't see I see more positives than I see negatives coming out of Tuscaloosa. And like I said, this spring compared to last spring, I had Caleb DeBoer on the show last week, trying to describe what it was last year compared to this year. It doesn't even feel like the same even coaching staff. Maybe Ryan Grubb is the yin and the yang of Kalen DeBoer, or maybe it's just had a year to understand that the players understand their expectations. And I, like I said, I go back to players inside that locker room. I'm not in that locker room. Deontay Lawson said, I don't think Kalen DeBoer could be the good cop, bad cop. He couldn't be that role. Now he's got that responsibility that he can be in that role. And I think, like I said, I'll be shocked if Alabama's not a deep playoff team this year. Now we can flip the script. What if he wins a national title this year?
Well, again,
talented. They got a talent in Tuscaloosa to get the job done. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but it's a very talented football team in T-Town.
Yeah, a lot of things going on for sure. Rhino,
I didn't want to hear that.
No, he sure didn't.
So I got 9 more seconds of it.
Appreciate the time, man. Thanks for being with us here on the Truck Out.
Appreciate the time.
Yeah,
okay,
that was
great
fast.
Day. Appreciate you guys so much.
There you go, Ryan Fowler. Check him out. Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
And I like Heath Klein, but he was getting out of there fast when he mentioned, what if they win a national championship? That's like I told you. Oh, no, we can't have that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, let me say this first. I think Lane Kiffin would be a guy, and it's a different deal now. Lane's a different dude than he was.
You can hear it.
Yeah.
You can hear it in
Joey
Lane.
Freshwater is gone. He has left the building, and he's a different dude. Now, Is that who they'd go to? I don't know. But I'm like,
I would
yeah,
assume
I haven't even thought about it because I don't believe that. I think Kalen DeBoer is going to get the job done. Is he going to do like Nick Saban? No. But I'm
Nobody
thinking
is.
Exactly.
Yeah, nobody is. He's going to have Alabama in really good shape. Look at his overall record.
Yeah, are we going to be able to win a national championship? No. Do I think we should make the playoffs with this team? Yes.
So
I mean, you look at the. I think they're going to have a top 10 team in Tuscaloosa that can if they get better and the quarterbacks. The problem you have is the same problem Georgia had last year. Same problem these other schools have.
Like
Yes. If you get some people hurt in some key places in Alabama,
toast.
Yeah, you're going to win. And you're not going to win them all. But you don't have to anymore. So,
well, and here's the thing too. Here's
if the committee likes you.
Here's what would have been my rebuttal to Heath Klein. What was DeBoer's record, or what is it against Sark and Dan Lanning? I've said that many times.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I know what the rebuttal will be.
Kirby.
But I know what the rebuttal will be with the first two. Well, that was at Washington. So you're telling me he can't put together a roster good enough at Alabama, looking at Alabama's history, to beat them? He's already – and then that's when you say he beat Kirby when everybody was wondering if he could do that. And he's beat Kirby. He's beat some elite football coaches.
He certainly
has.
has.
I know he lost to Vanderbilt in the first year, but then that's when you fire back. Nick Saban lost to Louisiana Monroe. Louisiana Monroe.
Well, here's the thing,
his
though.
First year at Alabama.
Yeah, the Vanderbilt thing, you look at Texas, they played the brakes off Texas.
Yeah.
And do you know that Vanderbilt still has a winning record against Texas?
Yeah.
Overall time?
They do.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, I think the rat poison that DeBoer didn't do good enough job with his coaches in the Vanderbilt game and with his players in the Oklahoma game.
And I think he learned a lot.
The two best games they had were before then. They monkey stomped LSU at LSU and then lost the next week at Oklahoma. They monkey stopped. Well, Georgia came back, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But they had a really good game. Maybe at that time they were the two best teams in the country. There's no question in my mind at that time. And then they lose the next week, but the coaches didn't have them ready to play against
that discipline word. I know you echoed that quite a bit. Do you feel better about that?
Time will tell. I mean, unfortunately, I didn't get to see him practice.
I get that.
I got a lot of people that do go to practice I talk to. They are very cautiously
optimistic.
And I would throw the way cautiously. I'm cautiously optimistic. They're very optimistic.
Very optimistic.
Well, they just think that they'll say, hey, listen, we can't have any injuries at linebacker. The defensive line got to continue to get better. They have some players.
Find a punter.
Which we think we've done that today. So, the secondary is special, and the receivers may be as good as they've ever been. Now, I'm going to wait and see on all that. So.
Drew, would you like to elaborate on the punting?
Well, I just, a little birdie told me to watch, there was a punter. Now, I had seen Chilene's punter go into the portal, and, of course, John Summerall being there, know him very well, but I was just told that, there was a punter that went into the portal today, and just to watch, Jack McAllister. He had been a 3-year starter at Washington and had transferred to Nebraska. Now he's back in the portal. He averaged, 42 yards on 110 punts, a lot of experience. And, Blake Dowd, the guy they brought from Division II, College of Mines, I think he struggled this spring. Alex Esperov, he tore his ACL in high school last year and during his senior year. So they need a punter. So I think they're going to try to address that. I think, and then in order, blocking tight end, state of Connecticut, and then offensive line, and then defensive line. So again, I think, but again, it's hard to find offensive tackles and defensive linemen. They are two of the more valuable things. I'm just saying if they could find the right one, they would be interested. Because I don't think they have a ton of spots, but there's some that they're definitely looking to address,
especially depth and offensive line depth.
Yeah, that's what that's for. Defense, offensive and defensive line depth, and then again, but they do need tight ends and a punter. There's no question about that.
So you do not see a scenario in which Alabama will be looking for a new football head coach come December.
I believe in Kalen DeBoer. I believe in his record. But again, they had bad losses to Vanderbilt and Oklahoma. They didn't look good in the bowl game, so people are going to raise Cain about that. And then they missed an opportunity against a really good Tennessee team.
Yeah,
and on the road. But again, like I've said, and see, the rebuttal I got tired of was, Nick Saban took over a much worse football team, and that's why they lost to Monroe. They shouldn't have lost to Louisiana Monroe. He can tell you that.
Well, yeah, they shouldn't have lost to that game.
No way.
They had a 135-pound running back.
Yeah,
you remember, and the other running back was on.
They had injuries, and then they should have. That was a team,
the biggest dealer in the state, I was told.
I mean, look, and remember at one time,
right?
They had LSU on the ropes who couldn't finish, who won the national championship. Could have given LSU their third loss, but they didn't. They had a transition year. So did Kalen DeBoer. And so to me, and it's not like they did look bad in the Oklahoma loss. There's no question about it. But they had it was a weird game, the way it was officiated, some things that happened. It could have been much closer. And I do think
you can't turn the ball over four times to beat anybody.
Your quarterback can't get you beat, and he got him beat in 3 of the 4 games. And you can even say in the Vanderbilt game he made enough mistakes. The quarterback wasn't good enough.
He turned it over 4 times against Auburn.
Well, but Auburn turned it over 4 times too. They just give it back to us. So that you look at the Vanderbilt, he did play well enough to win that game.
He did, but he still had a couple of mistakes. But he did in the offense played well enough. That was the bottom out for the defense, but they responded. I thought after that.
Well, they weren't ready to play.
Yeah,
they were still. The coaches didn't have the team ready to play.
There's still going through a transition.
If we'd have played another quarter at Vanderbilt, we'd end up getting beat by 2 touchdowns.
Couldn't stop them.
We couldn't stop them.
Yep.
The only way we stopped was kick the ball off the damn thing, which I've never seen before or after.
But it is what it is. I just think I think the cautious optimism is there, and if they can address a few needs. Now, they haven't lost anybody to the portal yet. I don't know how many they will lose. I don't anticipate a lot, because I think a lot of these kids they like the coaching staff. They're bought in. There might be some guys that are down the depth chart that leave, but again, I think they're going to have a really high retention rate, and I think they'll go out and find a few pieces.
We clearly cannot have all this positive talk about Alabama winning a national championship, so it's time for a break. We'll be right back. Wind things down here at Baumhower's Victory Grille next.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, managing partner at University Kia, proudly saying Roll Tide and War Eagle. Stop into University Kia today and shop one of the area's largest selection of new Kias, including Fortes, Seltos, Telluride, and Popular Carnival, and fully electric EV6. View all the great specials at universitykia.com and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia you really want, because we want to see you in a University Kia.
You don't have to go somewhere else just so you can go somewhere new. Plan your next vacation with Huntsville International Airport and Breeze Airways. Enjoy friendly, convenient, nonstop travel to some of the most exciting destinations in the U.S., including the home of iconic casinos, world-class shows, dining, and entertainment. Las Vegas. With flights starting as low as just $79, Breeze has got you covered with easy, breezy, nonstop flights to Las Vegas. Book nonstop to Las Vegas now at flybreeze.com.
Tom Abraham here for Valley Equipment Rental. You know, if you're a contractor installing fences, you need Valley Equipment Rental for augers of all sizes. And if you need a forklift to get those shingles up high on a roof, Valley Equipment has 10K lifts that reach to 56 feet. Valley also has tow-behind lifts that have a working height of 35 to 55 feet as well for power washing those 2-story homes or doing whatever else you need to do. Lifts, forklifts, tow-behind lifts, 35 feet and up. They have your lift at Valley Equipment Rental. 2 locations, North and South Parkway. Valley Equipment Rental.
I'm here with Stan McDonald of Jacob Title. Stan, I've heard that every real estate closing at Jacob Title is a very big deal. Why is that?
Wes, I'm reminded of a very impactful statement that I heard from Coach Gene Stallings years ago when he talked about big games and little games. He said he didn't like that comparison. He says, because try losing one of those little games. And if you ever do, it ends up being the biggest game all year long. Well, it's the same thing with real estate closings. Every game, every closing is a very big deal at Jacob Title. Because when it's your closing and your contract on the line, it's a very big deal, and we understand that at Jacob Title.
So it sounds like whether your client is a first-time residential buyer or a multi-million-dollar investor, they can expect your A game.
That's exactly right. As a matter of fact, when you bring your real estate closing to us at Jacob Title, we understand it's all about trust and confidence. And when Stan McDonald tells you that a chicken dips snuff, you can look under his wing for the box.
And like Beams likes to say, there's no doubt about it.
Where's the best place for sports? What about the best place for wings? If you answered Jefferson's for both, you're right. Jefferson's is also a great place for value. Every Monday, kids eat free with the purchase of an adult meal, and teachers bring your teacher ID, and you eat free every first Tuesday of the month up to $15. At Newmarket, Jefferson's will be opening a new location at 2190 County Road 65 very soon. Jefferson's, best place for sports, best place for wings. Hampton Cove, and soon in Newmarket.
Mike Rowe here with a quick question. Have you noticed cracks in your drywall, chimney, or exterior walls? I hope not, because if you have, they could be indications that you've got a much bigger problem with your foundation. That's where AFS comes in, a groundworks company. They can honestly assess your situation and create a plan to stabilize your foundation. Schedule your free inspection at afsrepair.com/row. And while you're there, check out my latest dirty job. It's a good one.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly sunny sky this afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 60s. A couple of folks looking at the lower 70s. Dropping into the mid and upper 40s as we head into the overnight, early into your Thursday morning. A mostly to partly sunny sky Thursday afternoon. Temperatures continuing to climb across the Tennessee Valley. Highs have no problems climbing into the mid 70s. Some of us could be looking at the upper 70s. Only dropping into the mid 50s as we head into the overnight. A mostly to partly sunny sky for your Friday. Temperatures consistently climbing into the upper 70s and lower 80s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You know, this process is all about talking ball.
Listen to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond.
What did they want privacy for? To just start talking ball.
Every weekday morning, wake up with Scott and Drew. It's Talkin' Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
I ain't as good as I once was. I got a few years on.
Winding things down here at Baumhower's Victory Grill. Along with Wes Neighbors, Steve Moulton back here with you. Final call for phone calls as well at 256-576-4977. The telephone number if you'd like to participate. Chris Doring earlier this hour. If you missed any portion of that interview, head over to our website, 977ESPN.com. Click on the show's links, and you can hear every show that we produce here locally. We are local in the morning, midday, afternoon, evening, all right here for you on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. In fact, over on our HD.2 channel right now, no, wait a second, that was earlier today. Trash Panda Baseball was a day game in Montgomery. That'll fire up tomorrow night over on Talk Radio WZZN as they
Airtime is
continue.
6:20 over there tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think
still in Montgomery against the
2-1
Biscuits
loss today.
And yeah, not doing so good on the road this time, but hopefully we can turn it around. We'll start 6:20 with Josh Carey, and I'll have the call there on Talk Radio WZZN. Go ahead and get the app so you don't miss everything. I know not everybody has an HD radio in their car, but you don't need that because you have the app, the Talk Radio WZZN app. Just go to 977 ESPN. Got links to it, and go ahead and get it there.
What he said.
You know, I've been quiet this whole show. I had to get something in.
Yeah, he's
I get a little
so
itchy
smooth.
back
He sounds so smooth.
256-576-4977, the telephone number if you'd like to participate. I played a little bit from, where are you, Urban Meyer in the Triple podcast, the Triple Threat
triple option.
Triple option.
I think it's Rob Stone.
Is that Rob Stone?
I think it is.
The hairdo?
I think it's Rob Stone, Urban Meyer, and Mark Ingram.
That's right.
There it is. One smart guy and two iffies. You do the math.
A little bit more from the triple threat or triple option.
Yeah. Be careful what you wish for, right, Coach? Be careful what you wish for out there.
That's when you look at everybody one day when he's older and say, why'd we do that?
It's the people around you, Coach. I highly doubt.
There you go, Mark.
It's Nico being like, I hate Tennessee. I don't want to come back to Tennessee. Like, I bet the player
he didn't do that.
$2.5 million. It's the people in your circle putting stuff in your ear. You deserve this. You're that. They're getting this. We should get that. So I want you not to go to practice. I don't know the logistics. I don't know the insider scoop, but I do know it has to be people in his ear, right? It has to be people close to him.
Yeah, there's no chance he made that decision. No chance. He's not equipped to make that decision.
That third uncle?
There he is.
Sad. It's frustrating. But
on this one.
Yeah, or somebody even closer. You know, what's interesting to me, guys, is that I think this is another sign of a trend that we're seeing. Again, the NFL and college football kind of coming together. We're seeing, and Mark, you hit on that stat. Of the 8 top quarterbacks in the 23 class, 7 have already transferred, and Arch being the only one who stuck it out. And God bless Arch. I mean, what a brave decision on his part. But you're seeing this fluidity at the college football quarterback position. You're also seeing it at the NFL. I'm seeing more and more NFL teams. I think you're also seeing more and more college football teams. Just look at Ohio State and Will Howard last year, that are more content to get a seasoned quarterback in the portal, right? Take your 2 years of seasoning, of growth, put up some good numbers at a quote lesser place. Let somebody else do the dirty work for you. Let them build you, grow you, mature you, and then let me take you from there. And you're seeing that at the NFL. You know, look what like a Sam Darnold, a Baker Mayfield. There's instances across college football. And that's almost like what the MAC is becoming, right? It's becoming like AAA, right? Hey, do well at these lesser conferences, and all the big boys are going to look down from the stands and look at the tape and go, thanks for your dirty work. You know, thanks, Bowling Green, for a couple of years.
And I was wrong, Mark, because I said there's no way that you can win a championship with a one-and-done quarterback. I love that. I think that position is so invaluable. The leadership, to be with your team. Will Howard comes in and does a hell of a job, wins a national championship, moves on. One and done. So I agree with you. I think this is going to be.
There you go.
And I don't know. Look, that happened once.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Kalen DeBoer thing. We went 9-4. He'll never do better than 9-4. That's basically what these media people are saying. Like, well, that was the top. It's all downhill from here. What if it's unmitigated disaster? And then if you give them all the points and make good points that it's not going to be, they start drawing it. They're going to kick you off there. Or as we've started yelling, we have what we call red flag, and we wave our arms and start yelling red flag, red flag, red flag, and that's what we've been doing with this whole Nico Iamaleava situation, and why teams don't want to mess with Nico Iamaleava. Now, UCLA needs a spark. They may think it's a gamble they can make, and try to take and bring the guy home. He's a guy that everybody's familiar with. And go to battle with him. But if I'm Nico's people, especially if the money's not right, but they may not have a lot of choices, guys, because this
doesn't look like they do.
I mean, it's blown up in their face.
Again, Chris Lowe is reporting that UCLA is in talks with Nico.
Well, I'm sure
that is not a done deal.
Well, I'm sure they're asking for a ridiculous amount of money, and they're just not going to get it.
I'm going to get some wings. I know that.
Wes had some. Boy, they were good.
I've had one of everything.
Yeah. He did a heck of a job.
That's going to wrap us up here from Baumhower's Victory Grill. Appreciate you, Judy Arman, as well as Chris Doring, for hopping on with us as well. It is dinner time here at Baumhower's Victory Grill. Yeah, baby.
There you go.
We'll talk to you tomorrow right here on The Drive, walking you up to Alabama baseball tomorrow. A big one for the Crimson Tide as they take on LSU.
Yep.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. This hour of the Paul Feinbaum Show is brought to you by Sensagreen Heating, Cooling, and Insulation.
The weekend's full of surprise. From Williams Bryce to Death Valley. On the Feinbaum Show, Paul's on the road. If he don't get the best of me, call Paul. He'll make sense of it all. Needing someone like you, top the Razorbacks are hard to stop.